your phone.
Exactly.
Teleportation app in the olden days. All
You
right.
could actually listen to what's going on in another part of the world live.
Yeah. Go
This
figure.
is incredible.
All right, here we go. John, edit here. Hello and welcome to Devlandia. How are you doing today? You say, wait, what? Devlandia? I thought you guys were off the air. You haven't done a show for months. Well, Jake, Duncan, and I talk about it all the time. So, Jake, go ahead and introduce yourself over in Splendora, Texas.
Hi, I'm Jake. It's good to be back. Good to actually be talking with you instead of just boxing with you. We're about 20, 30 minutes apart at a time. But yes, I am a teacher here in Splendora, Texas. I actually teach in Houston. Right now working with ninth graders, but soon I will be an instructional technology specialist for Dunn Elementary in Aldine for kindergarten through fourth grade. So I'm excited about that.
There you go. Can you hear the applause through your phone? Jake is actually talking on a phone right now. It's a new type of teleportation device because he has no headphones. So can you hear the sound effects on your phone?
I sure can.
Okay, that's good. I mean, you are kicking it so old school right there. That's like the headset that you hook into your iPhone to make you look so like hip and hipsterish, right?
Right, and you can't see, but it's actually rotary, so I can't even I can't even make any noises.
Jake, I'm so old that I remember when we used to have the one phone in the kitchen, and this is when my parents were still together. They were now, they've been divorced for many, many years. Child of divorce, hashtag. And I remember in the 70s when you could sit there and we had the big long cord on the rotary dial phone, and then you could go to the kitchen or you could almost go to the living room because you had like a 50-foot cord on it. That was always fun with the telephone.
I love that. Yeah, I had that too, and that was in the kitchen, and I would actually go outside with it. I would take it out the door to the garage, and then I would go out the back door, and then I would spend hours untangling the cord there to make it right. Once you stretched those out, then you'd have the one that was off, and you have to work it all the way to the end.
Yes, I remember that. Oh my gosh,
I thought you were going to say something about party lines. I remember we had a party line, and sometimes there would be a different ring for the neighbors, and so I'd pick it up and listen just to hear what was going on with the neighbors.
we used to have it in Chicago. We used to have like the B96 like party line where then you thought you were so cool when you could get on the phone and just talk to random people like other, tweeners or teenagers that were like you'd be like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm in Bolingbrook, Illinois." And you'd be like, "Hey, I'm in Oak Park, Illinois. What are you doing?" You thought that was great, but meanwhile you're getting jacked at like 25 cents a minute on that thing.
I
You
remember
know,
those.
on the phone bill. That's so funny to remember all those different things. I even remember when we used to be able to call the party line as early as like the 93, 94 NBA Finals with Phoenix, and people in Chicago could dial up and talk smack to the people in Phoenix. That was like 20
Oh,
years
that's
ago now.
awesome.
I know, huh?
That's great.
Oh gosh, yeah, I used to get into people used to have me over. I was such a psycho Bulls fan that people used to have me over at their house. Like, John, are you watching the game anywhere? Because I would go on these tremendous tantrums of just like rage and ecstasy because the Bulls would usually always win. But biggest Michael Jordan fan ever. That's why my son is named Michael Jordan Samuelson.
That is awesome.
All right, well that's neither here nor there. Okay, so
That's
let's
funny
talk.
you say that because I was watching the Rockets game or attempting to through I still have cable, and it was like, is this glitch art or is this cable? Couldn't make anything out, but the Rockets are up on the Wizards still. Just a
Oh,
update for that.
you
I'm sure you're watching all the NCAA stuff immediately after this, right?
Yeah, I will. I'll watch Michigan State and Louisville, and then two of my favorites are actually my two favorite college basketball teams now square off against each other. The one time I'm ever a front runner is Duke, and that's my front running team. But I've been with them since '77 when they were horrible. So I mean, they weren't horrible. They just weren't. They were the team that never won a championship until Christian Laettner, and then they started winning championships. So.
See, I guess that's when I fell in the Leitner game-winning shot and Grant Hill and Thomas Hill and Bobby Hurley and yes, I love that team.
I like that team too. In fact, the last time they were in Houston and I lived in Austin, I went and saw Duke beat Baylor to go to the Final Four.
Oh, that's really cool.
I know. I was. That
And
was.
well, poor Baylor this year.
I know. Poor
But
Baylor.
the Duke game was here in Houston Friday.
Yeah, so it's there today.
Oh,
You
is it
can
there
go.
today too? I guess
Yeah,
so.
I know. Great.
I
I'm
should
I'm so glad
go.
I moved to Portland and I can't see the next Elite Eight game. Okay, so talking teleportation apps, we have seen some stuff that go through. Now, I will remind you that Jake Duncan is probably one of the top teacher, um, I don't know, what would you call yourself? Like product hunters, like in on new things kind of guy. I would say you're the top go-to guy out of all the people I know on Twitter. You're the number one head honcho. You reign supreme.
I do like cool things. I like new cool things, and I like to check them. I'm a teacher who likes to check out the cool new stuff. I
And we
mean,
let
I'm sure there are lots of us, really, but
out of the limited like 8 people that talk to me, you are the number one of the 8. Then you're my elite 8 number one. Kentucky, you're like my Kentucky in the elite in the final four now. So we wanted to talk a little bit because we're seeing some stuff and go around, and we started talking about this on Voxer the other day. So live streaming apps, and so we've got I mean I titled this Hangout Meerkat versus Periscope, and we're kind of sitting here trying to figure out why this is such a rage all of a sudden, because it actually has kind of captured the attention of some ed tech people, which is surprising to me because we were just talking about this, Jake. Live streaming, it's not really a new thing, is it?
not a new thing. In fact, I've seen I guess Adam Taylor has been was starting a chat for people who are live streaming their class, and Will Chamberlain, WM Chamberlain on the Twitters, came up, and I know that he'd been streaming with UStream, I guess what, five years ago, and basically didn't save those broadcasts, but would just broadcast live just to let people join in and just become, get to see what's actually going on in the class, to just be as transparent as possible. And I think he's sort of the king of transparency. But he was doing this years ago, and so was it ahead of its time? Were devices maybe not ready for it, or use more data? Really, why is this? There's a sudden resurgence in live streaming, and the idea, maybe it's the idea of the teleportation of exploring the world through someone else's eyes at any given time. I don't know what it is, but I know that it's been going on. People have done it for a long time. It's just sort of becoming like a prevalent thing right now. So I I don't have a great answer for that, but but
Right, it's kind of fun. I just think it's kind of funny. And the other person, and I love William, and then Will's great, and then Tim Bedley of the Bedley Brothers podcast has been doing this for a long time as well. I think that and so it really isn't that new. But when I just got back, and this is the first podcast I've done since the Q conference in Palm Springs, and I talked really quickly. Now you have to catch this person quickly, but Adam Bello was the keynote, the closing keynote, okay? And I don't know if you're aware of this, Jake, but if you go and you try and actually have a conversation with Adam Bello, you're going to be completely interrupted by the throngs and entourage of people that want to impress Adam Bello. Like people, it's a new game. I should call it like I told Adam Bello, I said, it's like Get Shorty, except it's Get Adam Bello at a conference. It's like, here, come have lunch with us. Here, come have drinks with us. And I was just trying to pick his brain a little bit and talk to him. But when we talked for the 3 minutes without being interrupted, Meerkat was what we talked about a little bit. And we were at the EdTech karaoke, and I think it was just Q karaoke at that point. It wasn't sponsored by anyone. And we had some great streams. I just started Meerkatting because that was the one. Periscope wasn't out yet. Oh, even like a week and a half ago, or it was just a week ago. I was at Q.
I was gonna say
Periscope.
this would be the week after South by Southwest EDU, whenever the actual South by Southwest interactive and all the music and stuff was going on, right?
Right, right. So that's what it was right after that, and so then I just saw Periscope. We knew that Twitter had bought Periscope, and it hadn't really been launched. Did it just launch like 3 days ago? Is that what happened?
Seems well. It was released early. The people found the link in the App Store
Mhm.
earlier than they should have, apparently, than Periscope wanted. It didn't even have the share to Twitter built into it yet, or that wasn't actually active at the time. So I thought that was something that Twitter was forced to launch basically because people found the link, was forced to get it out there. But they responded, pretty well, and it is, it's a great app too. But yeah, I think it's been 3, 4 days. It hadn't been very long at all.
That's when I saw it on Product Hunt first. Was probably 3 or 4 days ago. And I thought, oh, okay, there it is. I hadn't really been watching too much, but so I don't know. And then I had my good friend David Terrio said, John, talk me into this Meerkat thing for education, blah blah blah. Like, sell me on it. And I'm like, I don't know if I can really sell you on it. I was just using it for my own personal thing where it was EdTech Karaoke. It seemed kind of fun. You joined the one where I was walking through the casinos in Las Vegas before I drove to Palm Springs, and I basically could see you on Meerkat. I could talk to you. I was live streaming and making little random commentary. I mean, I think it's fun for that. I don't know about as far as education goes, and we were just sampling Periscope right before, and I think it works great. But at the same time, there's no way I want to subject kids to that because you can just get these random people on. And we were talking to a guy. I was talking to a guy at a bus stop in like Germany or something, and people were just throwing hurling all sorts of explicatives at him, and he was hurling them right back at him. And I'm like, I don't see the educational value of. I mean, I think it's cool, but I think this is more of a thing where I don't know if we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole with Meerkat and Periscope.
Yeah, well, the thing is that it's a lot of those people. Oh, I hate to say that, but it's a lot of the people who, push. It's not about the tech. Pedagogy, pedagogy. Tech doesn't matter, and I do think that the tech matters. You can't really without the tech. It's a different world. Pedagogy is certainly important, but to say that it's everything and that tech is nothing, just seems silly. But it I do think that this is all sort of good practice to be open, to have to record these things so that you can go back and reflect on them. Maybe we should sort of distinguish, between at least the two. Really, what are the features or lack of features, I guess, that make each one, that give each one its sort of its own place right now. That people are trying to figure out, what should I use this for if I'm going to use it.
Right, because
Um,
that was kind of the one that started our debate about it. We saw the argument. We saw the I was going to say article. We saw the blog post from my good friend Sarah, the teacher, and she was talking about him a little bit, and she's talking about Meerkat and Periscope, and it seems like people are trying to go like one side or the other. And I think you bring up some good points, Jake, because you always remind me of things because when I was sitting there, we were having our discussion from Q, and we were talking about Facebook and Instagram. And you totally reminded me that I like Instagram right now, but I've totally forgotten that Facebook bought Instagram whenever it was, like a year and a half ago. And I don't know, there's that Meerkat's kind of like the little upstart open source kind of thing, and then Periscope is we're owned by Twitter, we're Big Brother, we're going to use all your stuff. So you go ahead, and I've used Meerkat way more than I've used Periscope, except for the 4 seconds that I just used it to talk to the guy in Germany, which was cool. So why don't you go ahead and tell us? I was using Meerkat to. I sat in the front row at the Q conference. I asked the presenters if I could stream, and I would open up Meerkat. And so I did was I basically live streamed to all my Twitter followers the session that I was at. And sometimes it cuts out, and sometimes it says it's doing audio only. But then you have the ability to save it to your camera roll, or you can just let it go, and it was just out there, and the stream is over. And that's how I was using it. I wasn't. I mean, I guess that's professional development wise, but I don't know how I could use it educationally. So go ahead, Jake, and tell us a little bit about what you think about Meerkat, because you've used them both extensively.
well, I kind of like that. I'm kind of into ephemerality, I guess. This idea that things are fleeting, that it's not just so much the fear of missing out, but the joy of being together. That you're not trying to catch these meerkats just because you're afraid of whatever it is you're not going to get to be a part of it. But I think that that's neat, that it's just once it's gone, it's gone. Very Snapchatty, I guess, that way. And I guess Periscope is still sort of has that, but it's just with they have with the replay instead. So the replays last 24 hours. So anybody who did miss it can go watch it anytime within that 24 hours. But Meerkat, they're basically gone. But for me, so that's the thing for me is that Meerkat is fleeting. It's just the moment in time, and then it's gone. The integration with Twitter for Meerkat, basically the entire conversations become the record. Anytime someone comments, they can choose to send that as a tweet also, which is kind of fun for markers about what happened in the conversation at what point, being able to go back and watch or go find the original tweet and then look at all the comments for the people who are posting publicly. So I think that's kind of a different record of what has gone on. It's just a little bit of evidence of it, but you can't actually see it. I think that's an interesting aspect of it. I really do, like you said, I like the community, and it seems like the product hunt community is the big group of people that have taken on hacks, I guess, because it's disappears. So you've got like if you just attach the catch hashtag to it, then is it catch cats or mere catch? One of those two accounts will basically save it as a YouTube video for you on their channel. So you can choose to have it be to keep it as a YouTube video if you'd like, and they'll just reply to your initial tweet with that. So there are just so many things. There are 10 different products on Product Hunt that have been created as a part of that community around it. So there's like the Meerkat streams. Somebody's working. There's a hack, like a hackathon or codathon on Meerkat right now, where people are trying to create the Android app since that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So they're Meerkatting them creating the Android app. There's a Chrome extension for it now. You can comment on it. You have to be logged into Twitter for it. So there's also like a Watch Meerkat, which lets you watch them anonymously. There's even Yo's for Meerkat. I'm still a fan of Yo. So you can turn the notifications off on Meerkat, but then you could have it send you a Yo whenever those people start streaming too. Oh. So there are apps for viewing them and for searching for them. Because on Meerkat it doesn't, when you open it up, you don't, unless somebody is live streaming right then, there's really nothing to watch. Which is sort of the problem that I think educators have seen with Periscope is that the most recent streams, whenever you open up the app, will appear. So you have access to all kinds of the internet has kind of taken over Periscope, it seems like. There are people with just lots of silly broadcasts. But, there are just so many things that people have created as a result of Periscope, but then also just the fact that those features were lacking on Meerkat, like analytics. There's a Meerkatalytics that gives you all of that information for advertisers, for those companies that are wanting to jump in, and a lot of them have already sort of jumped into that. So for Meerkat, I think that it really, for me, it's about the fact that it's small, that it's just these few individuals that Ben Rubin and his team have created, and then want it to be very open source. They're excited about that, So that's the thing for me that I really enjoy about it. I was supposed to talk about Periscope more than I was Meerkat, wasn't I?
No, but I think that's okay. I think that's good because I think a couple things, and if you're a teacher, I know that Devlandia gets out there for teachers, and we're talking a little bit more of like development of products, which is what we're going to try and do on this podcast, because Jake and I have promised each other that we have people in mind that we really want to talk to, developers and all sorts of just people making edtech products or not edtech products. But I want to say, and if the site that I would go to if you just want cool new things is Product Hunt. And if you have not gone to Product Hunt, you need to just Google Product Hunt and go there, and you will see 40 new products a day, whether it's apps, websites, just hacks that people put on there. Sometimes it's cool products that you can buy for not educational technology, but just technology products, and sometimes it's books that people have. It's just great. It's just great stuff. And so what Jake's saying basically is, when it's open source like that, what people are trying to do now is they're embracing Meerkat because it's kind of the underdog. It's kind of like anybody that plays Kentucky, right? I don't think Wisconsin, but it's the underdog, and people are really trying to make it better. And every day it seems like there's one that pops up where it's almost like for Slack too, which we use at our job, Slack, to communicate. There's all these little extra things like here's a new thing where you can put a cool, thing onto your Slack channel and make it look prettier or whatever. Then, and so I think that that's one of the things that we like about Meerkat, and it didn't when once there was that one 24-hour period, Jake, where I was trying out Meerkat, and it didn't really work because I think Twitter's like, well, we bought Periscope, and so we're gonna shut you down for a little bit. But then they fixed it right away, and it's
Right.
kind of
Well,
like that
they
Twitter
have
effect.
denied access to them to their social graph, so that you can't. So that basically, whenever you join, the people, you don't automatically follow everyone. They'll show up, but see, it seems like that's been fixed. It's easy enough to find that within any of the apps too, to be able to follow all the people that you follow on Twitter also.
Hmm.
But yeah, that seems pretty intentional that they that
Oh yeah,
Twitter was trying to slow them down because they had become had taken off so quickly at South by Southwest
right. And
and before.
is that where it was? Did you see it first at South by Southwest, Jake? Because you were there.
No, I think it was the week before
Okay.
that it started blowing up, sort of on Product Hunt, and I started seeing a lot of people joining. In fact, I still have notifications on just to watch people join. That was the neatest thing, was being an early adopter and then watching, Kevin Rose, or watching, all of the founders of all these companies start joining, and then immediately check it out. Just to, Chris Messina, whenever I watched him join, immediately after he started broadcasting, it was from a plane that he was leaving to go to Dubai or something.
Oh,
But
cool.
so meerkats from planes, I think, should be a hashtag, because it seems to be just rubbing some stuff into some of us that hey, I founded this corporation and I'm flying off to Shanghai, China right now. But it's interesting to them too, and if it's it's definitely become it's that at that point where it's a phenomenon that if all of these people that are heads of or that are VCs or heads of corporations or startups all are taking a look at it, it's of interest to them. So
That's interesting. And before you go into talk about Periscope, let's talk a little bit about what the other thing we talked about. So this is one thing, and we're both teachers, obviously. I don't think I mentioned that I am an Jake. My title is I'm an innovation strategist for the Beaverton School District. You know what that means? That means I'm the tech guy. Okay, so when we go through, let's talk about. All right, so I guess our thing that we were talking about is, and this is what people that and there's the people that are pretty well connected on Twitter, the ed tech version. As a person that worked at a startup last year, granted it was an ed tech startup, there's not a lot of money in ed tech, and so companies aren't really looking to make educational versions of everything. And I think that that's one thing that teachers don't understand. It's like, oh, Meerkat, okay, let's make it for ed tech. No, it's not going to happen. It's just not realistic. There's no money to be made, right?
well, absolutely. I mean, there's not. And teachers want everything for free anyway. The people who make the decisions about purchasing are not interested in this stuff until it's been around and is has become viable on its own. And really, they're just not interested in any of these types of using these innovative technologies. Those people who make the decisions about purchasing and those types of things don't. They're not the same group of people that are trying all these new things out and pushing the boundaries for really what we can do. You know. Um, my example of that. This is more of my gripe than anything else. But
Go ahead. You know that
there's a
if you're with me, Jake, that you know that you are well open, that you can gripe at any time because I am very grouchy. So go ahead.
yeah. Well, maybe I can be a guest one day on the Grumpy Teachers
We
podcast.
should. We should have you on Grumpy Old Teacher at some point.
Well, so here's the thing. There's this really wonderful platform app called Detour, and I forget the guy's name who started it all of a sudden. For San Francisco right now, and basically these are like where you have an app, and it's geolocated walking tours. So they tell you kind of head in this direction, and then the audio will come up when you're in that certain space. And it's really just teachers would love this. This is like the coolest thing. It's like if in the rather than telling you to walk to the next one in a museum, it just uses the location for where you are to start talking to you and telling you about a certain work of art or something. So just really cool stuff. But they're not. it's not so much a museum and just these are the facts. It's stories that are told. So Detour worked with Radiolab at South by Southwest, and this year my gripe is that this was right after South by Southwest EDU. The day that I left is the day that this one became available for Austin. It was called the year that broke Austin, and it's sort of it's the story of really about I think the year 1815, and it's this 130-year-old murder case that you get caught up in, and you walk around the city, and it's just this immersive experience that just seems incredible to me. That they dropped it immediately after the teachers left, and not that teachers are necessarily the people at South by Southwest EDU. It's those startup companies, and it's really not very teacher centric. I guess it's more administrators and that type of thing. But this is an incredible app, and teachers would love it, and it would have been, spread like wildfire among that population. But they don't care about education because that's not what's going to bring them success. It's really kind of as simple as that. Is they're not going to create this just for education. Somebody else would need to do that after, generally after something else has been proven successful. So I think that this would be awesome, and I think this would be great to be able to get into the hands of, to let students be creators. Here, the walking tour of our school. Whenever you reach the cafeteria, they tell you about, not just things. This is where we had this event, or that's where these things have gone on, and that's kind of like a layer of history to it too. So it's not just informational; it's providing a lot of context. That these are the types of things that have gone on here. That when you get to this, this Elvis played here back in 19 whatever, that type of thing. But so I guess that's the point, is that they just, great startups are not at all concerned about making something for teachers or for classrooms. They're just trying to be successful in whatever it is they're doing. Now, those things could certainly be really valuable for teachers, but that's not their target audience. We got to kind of learn to accept that we can't ask for everything for education. Is that an awful thing to say?
No, it's not. And the first rule of startups is you want to get as many users as possible. You're trying to acquire people that will actually use the app and keep using the app. That's what you want to. That's what you want. Not saying it's just an app, but not just apps, but the website, the service, whatever it is. You want people to use it, and it's such a we have such a small target audience. And then I think the problem also is that there are a small number of teachers, I hate to say this, that will be able to use it properly, and so we could see the value of that, but that doesn't mean that everyone else all other teachers can see, and even just in my school district, can see the value of it right away. You have to be kind of in that and see, we love the stuff, so I'm always trying to find a new thing and see how I can modify it for education. I'm just thinking that after using Periscope, which I saw that my good old friend, and here it is, Kurt Reeves. Did you get the Kurt Reeves notification on Periscope, Jake? Did you get?
Did I get whose?
Kurt Reeves?
I did, yes.
Okay, so it's something about Kurt Reeves right now, and Kurt Reeves I won't say what he's doing, but it involves the initials IPA, so you can draw your own conclusion. But right, he's an administrator, and I think that there is going to be things like that. I'm talking on Periscope to a guy in Germany, and it's cool that I can text a guy in Germany waiting at the bus stop, but that's not necessarily, there's nothing really educational about it. I think that sometimes we just have to accept that there's nothing going on. And here, go ahead and describe Periscope while my son cries in the hallway real quick, and I'll see if I can help him out.
Well, Periscope's a nicer version of the same type of thing, only that that once you're done streaming or broadcasting something, you can choose to share it with your Twitter followers also. Meerkat basically is going to automatically be sent to Twitter, but the comments may or may not be. That's up to you. But you can choose to share with Twitter followers. When you open the app, there is a list of 3 most recent streams, and this is the scary part for me, is that elections and Starbucks. So not a whole lot of super interesting type of things that are popping up whenever I first open it, but it gives you like the most recent broadcasts So if you start broadcasting, you're going to have some people join in because they'll be seeing that also. So you'll end up having people that sort of immediately join, but then I guess maybe disappear as you see whatever it is that you're streaming. They might just move on quickly. Um, the I guess the interesting thing for me is the replays that well, and it's easy to give hearts rather than to necessarily comment. So you can just tap on the screen to heart something or to. I was thinking about during your podcast, to be able to just tap the screen to like. I think is pretty neat. So I really do like that feature. I've only got 112 hearts right now, so that's kind of disappointing for me. Having done about 5 or 6 streams. But it's just it's a nicer, cleaner app than Meerkat. I mean, not because of it being purchased by Twitter, because this has been created over the past year. So there's been some really, it's just a nice app. Yeah, that's the thing, is that you're able to see those most recent streams is the thing that is bothersome, I guess, for me. Just because that makes it much less geared toward education. But if you're sharing it out to Twitter, then hopefully those people would disappear. I'm sure I'm certain they have to both add the ability to be able to kick people out of your stream, which none of these things have right now. And that's kind of a killer as far as being able to use it in class. People had been really friendly whenever I would broadcasted from class just at the end of the day and stuff like that. And people have been friendly. Everybody just sort of, it tries to give you, they expect you to take requests. Hey, sing for us. And so we'll have a kid sing for us, and I found out that a few of my kids really can sing. But it really is just, I really had no idea. It took them forever to get excited to do it. But once they would start jumping in and starting to sing for these people, then, wow, man, my kids are awesome. And I wouldn't have known that without doing that. But they're definitely subject to somebody just immediately telling them how horrible of singers they were. But people have just been really friendly so far. But that's because it hasn't been as popular. I mean, now it's going to be kids doing the same thing. Now, so I mean, I guess that's Periscope. That you don't have to have the conversations on Twitter. It's all within the app. On the replays, you can see you can see the text in the comments, which I think is pretty neat. I do like that. Again, unless somebody put something on there that I wouldn't want them to see. But I mean, it's pretty well the same app. Just aside from you have the replays, sort of like a Snapchat story. So
it's interesting, right? So then, for my Meerkats, I have a couple. I had a couple funny ones from the karaoke.
Yeah, well, some of the people dancing were entertaining. That was awesome.
Right. We had Janine Letford on there. Janine Letford, do you know Janine?
I don't.
Janine Letford, I learned of her from the Bedley Brothers. She was on the Queen Latifah show one time as just like a music person, but they had 2 music teachers square off from California, and then she won. She actually ended up winning tickets to the Grammys, like to go see
Oh, wow.
the Grammys. But Janine also not just known for that. She's an outstanding educator from California. I want to say she was California Teacher of the Year in some way, shape, or form. Whoever decides that from whatever place. But so Janine's a music teacher, and she did Man in the Mirror, and I had that one for like 7 minutes with my friend Diane Main, which was hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she was dancing. I had one person.
Did Diane Main do a parody? Did she do? She's famous for those, right?
She did not do a parody on that one. She actually was serious. Well, Janine raised the bar, so she had to be serious, I had one where everybody did. This is the one I saved actually, and I think I might post it to YouTube because it's funny. One of the people that was on the cue board came and did a whole dance in front of me while everybody was doing Happy. So Happy brought the place down. It's like some of these people. One person that we laughed. They did a Erasure medley, and so I mean, all I knew was just a little respect, basically. And I'm like, all right, now I've got this song, but it took so long to get there, and we kept thinking he was done, and then it would be an Erasure song, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But some of their choices are not very good. But So like I can take that now, that Meerkat, and I could post that one to YouTube because I thought it was pretty funny. If I choose to. I think the one with Janine was like 7 minutes long, and I think I let in like a part of a Britney Spears into the Janine Letford, and there were so many other people that were taping it. I was like, okay, it's out there. I don't need to put it up. But
Now,
it's
see, that's my issue for that is that if you're going to broadcast using Meerkat and then you're going to save it to the camera roll, boy, that's going to how much space does that have to take up on a phone? How much would you have to have available for that? And then uploading it to YouTube from a phone, oh my goodness, like how long would that take to upload too? Jeez.
well, Jake, when you're on the iPhone 6 Plus like I am, I don't know. I didn't get the Mambo 6 Plus, but I get my 64 gigabytes, so I can not worry about space and things like that. But right then I took it off there. I haven't really looked at how much space I have on there. Usually with 64 it doesn't get into trouble
Right.
for me too much. But
Well, I'm sure it would take me, it wouldn't take me terribly long with the. I would just go download all the apps that I've deleted that I just decided I wasn't going to use for a while. So
right.
I have to generally take off iMovie or GarageBand often just so I have space on my older one. But yeah, I need to get a newer phone too. But yeah, so that would be my issue though. You know,
I know. So I don't
you
know.
know
I
that
mean, I guess what are we? I guess our conclusion is. I mean, I enjoy the apps. I like them for me personally, but I'm really not, and I like them for maybe saving some professional development if someone is doing something great in class, and I want to capture it and then maybe save it to YouTube as an example for the teachers in my school district. I think that that's a great use for it, or something, or like I want to save a kid's speech, but then at the same time I could broadcast it out, but at the same time, why couldn't I just video it and upload it to YouTube as well?
right,
So
or I mean that's the response is that why wouldn't I just use the a Google Hangout for that?
right.
It's I guess there's got to be some kind of response like, well, you can't comment live on them and see the comments within the video, but I mean it really we're trying to I think we've jumped the shark in a lot of ways that we can do things in a much simpler way. Really, you could just use that extension that's the live Hangout, the Hangout on Air extension to be able to start that nearly immediately. Holding your phone is just not an ideal way to do this either. I mean, whenever the next iteration of Google Glass or I've got my Epiphany eyewear glasses, that would sure make this easier to just tap a button and be able to stream live too. I wouldn't be holding my phone to do everything, and I mean, I still like, if recommending to teachers, I have like two little things. I would recommend to teachers to use something like Hangouts or to use Ustream. That's the one that I went with, years ago. It's because it's not as popular. There won't be a bunch of people immediately jumping on your broadcast that you don't want to. You can share it to Twitter. You can have channels, so you could have a different channel for different events that you got for cheerleading for whatever. We've used it to broadcast our graduation ceremonies from Huntsville, Texas, for the past few years, and people are able to comment and watch live, and it automatically saves. You can connect it to YouTube if you'd like also. I mean, I think the app, I just looked at the app not too long ago today, and I hadn't been on that in a while, but it's great. I mean, it's sort of got what teachers are wanting from these types, from the new ones. It does a great job of those. So, I mean, I would recommend using that or using a Google Hangout. That's kind of the way that I would go with it. But the other one thing that I wanted to say is that I don't think parents know about YouNow, this is a very similar app to all of these. It lets but generally it's taken over by very young, tweens, I guess, and they're broadcasting live, and it's got a lot more of gamification type elements. Instead of just the taps for stars, you can give coins to people, and then they can use them to, I don't know. I mean, I would be wary of that one. If I were a parent or a teacher, I would want to know if my kids had YouNow on their phone and were using that. That's the one that just scares me the most. The other ones are geared toward adults, but this one's YouNow is like for kids, and goodness knows what they're doing on those things. You know, a lot of them are doing silly stuff. They're using the Parlor app to just prank call people randomly.
Mm-hmm.
That just randomly connects you with other people
Mm-hmm.
for voice calls, and then they're just like doing silly voices and stuff like that to prank call. But I didn't want to stick around to see really, what else could go on in those rooms,
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it is interesting. And then I was just on Periscope real quick, um, and just to throw this out there for to maybe drive the point home a little bit for these. I think we're trying too hard to like it's a new cool thing, but it doesn't have to be for education. I just was on a stream where it said playing with my girlfriends. I'll say derriere, but that's not what it said, and that's what it got. That was what it was, and I don't think kids should be on these, and I think that that's what you open yourself up for. So I mean, while it's cool, I think that Periscope, when I would use Meerkat and we did the karaoke, I could see when Jake's on there because I can see his Twitter profile picture, and I could see like three people that were on that I knew because they were following me on Twitter, and that's the thing. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. They're not here, and two of them were at the conference. They just were in different rooms or whatever, or just at their hotel room, and I think that that's neat. But I think Periscope opens up a whole nother thing when it's just like, here I'm at the top. Let me just watch something, and you get all these, you can get all these little hearts, and you can get like 8 or 9. You can get a bigger audience quick, but I don't. I think that that just opens yourself up. Sometimes even on Google Hangouts, like right now, we haven't shared the link out, and we don't have any viewers, thank goodness. But we always get those one or two random viewers, and they're just like, "What's that?" And then they make comments in the box, and you're like, that's why we didn't share the link out because we don't really want it. But it's still like the link. Somebody could legitimately come on right now and watch this show and make a bunch of inappropriate comments. I don't have the text open, so I wouldn't see them. But after I close it out, I could see it. So I don't know. I think you got to go Google Hangouts on air. You've got to. I mean, Skype is still out there. I still get my live stream digest. I just got the email like your live stream digest. It's all the same thing. Don't go crazy over it. Let's not just make something the rage just because it's the rage. Sometimes things are just made for adults, and you can use them at the opportune times when you want to use them. And share it with your friends and share like I'm at the beach. Here I am at the beach. I'll share it with my friends real quick. Here I am walking through a casino. Oh, Jake's on. I can laugh now, and now it's like Jake can walk through the casino with me real quick. And boy, I was on that one for like 5 or 10 minutes, wasn't I, Jake?
That one was awesome too, by the
That one
way.
was like
I've never been there. I'd never been there, and I, read the stories about those ridiculous. Now they're not elevators, but whatever they are, inclinators. And so I got to see them. I was almost there with you, and you were, chatting with me, and that was awesome. It's great. And I mean, I think that transparency in a classroom is a great thing, and for reflection, using it for reflection. But we really got to think about what's best for the kids, and exposing them to these types of things doesn't necessarily, it's just not. It's not going to be a good thing to be that transparent all the time. It needs to be purposeful. The things that we do in class, we need to be purposeful and intentional in what we do. And sometimes we're just, hey, watch me broadcast live is not, just for the sake of doing it. It doesn't serve a purpose, I don't think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think for me personally, I think I'm probably going to root for the underdog, and I'm going to stick with Meerkat and just keep using Meerkat because I like that it's just there. Oh, there's your shirt right there. I'm going to stick with Meerkat is what I'm saying. And I know that of course the user interface for Periscope is nicer, and it's this and it's that, but the things that I want to share on Meerkat or the things I want to live stream, I just want it to go to my friends. I don't want random strangers jumping in on it. And yes, I know that it tweets out and it's public and whatever, but I like the ability that, if there's something really cool there, I can save it to my camera roll and I can do what I want with it, or I can just junk it and it's done. And then it's like, you can share it with the grandma. My mom was just here visiting. Here, grandma, here, look, you can watch this real quick. Here you go. And I mean, but you can do that with FaceTime. You can do that with so many other things, I don't know. It's interesting and I like it, but at the same time, I'm still baffled by what catches the attention of people,
Definitely, same thing here.
Well, so anyway, so we'll put a list up. I'll make a list. I just made a list today of based primarily from Product Hunt because I saw some cool. I like how Product Hunt will give you kind of like similar apps now. Have you noticed that? Like if you click on one and you like it, they're like, you should check out these two other apps. And I was like, oh, hey. I checked.
I saw that. I joined in on it was a Meerkat stream that Ryan Hoover from Product Hunt
Hmm.
was showing new features, and I thought this is like a good way to do that. This
Right.
it was just live. He was just taking sort of comments on it, and was just showing off what Product Hunt is going to have available in the next couple of weeks, and some of those things have rolled out now, and that's a great way to use a tool like that. But I mean, so that was really interesting to get to see a part of that. It makes you feel like you're together, you're with those people. So
Right.
that was funny that you mentioned that, because that's how I actually saw that was coming. I haven't seen it so much on the site often, or recently, but.
Right. So I actually used Ryan's stream to get a few others because I figure if I do an app list now, I just want to do like 10 apps maximum. That's all you can do. And there are some great new apps out there to create music. So that was the new list I made. But you know what? We'll do one with you've inspired me real quick, Jake. That's my new thing. I'm just going to be creating stuff, and maybe some of it's good and some of it's bad. But at least I can go to bed knowing that I'm creating stuff and not just trying to and doing my own thing and not just stealing other people's stuff and trying to recreate it. I don't know. That's what I feel like some people are doing right now. So I'll do my own original stuff, and maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. But if Ryan Hoover would be a good person to follow on Meerkat, and Ryan, if you ever want to give me commenting rights on Product Hunt, like Jake has, I'll take it. I'll take it. I know I'm not as in the know as Jake is, but I do know a little bit.
We'll have to ask him.
I know.
I
I'll
just
tag
got
you.
another Periscope post. Chris Hadfield is a good person to follow. The Canadian astronaut. He's
Oh, okay.
a good person to follow on Periscope also. Just interesting stuff.
And maybe that's what we need then. Maybe we just need the in Periscope. Maybe we just need the legit people that would tweet out educational streams, and it's not so much the teacher that's like convinced me to use it, like David Terrio says, sell me on this. No, just maybe we find a list of just good, safe people that tweet out stuff, but that still won't prevent. And I'm just going to stress this again. That still won't prevent, even if the Canadian astronaut tweets out, starts a Periscope, you will still get the comments from people, and those can be completely uncensored and unfiltered. So I don't know, if I could suggest that even that you would project the stream. You know, I
Yeah.
just think you're real teachers. I think you're really trying too hard on this one. This is let the
Let
adults,
it go. Let's move on
yeah,
to let's move
let
on
it
to
go.
whatever the next thing is.
Right, and so on that note, we will try and Jake and I are going to try and start up the podcast and do some Devlandias. Jake, can I just confess that I miss you and not being in Texas anymore? I miss not being
Hmm.
able to just hang out and go to Astros games and stuff.
Yeah, me too. I definitely do. I got
I
my
love your
Astros
40.
hat on
I
since we've
know
been
you got your
podcasting.
45's hat on. I was wearing my shirt that we bought the other day in Las Vegas. You know which shirt I'm wearing. T-shirt I bought.
That was an
Um,
awesome one.
I got
And
three
thanks for
pounds
that
on.
too. And I do feel connected to you. I feel like I get to be with you using these tools. Like whenever you're doing something interesting or you're someplace awesome, it's really cool for me to be, I'm right there with you. It's like I get to be, like the good old days back
Yeah,
when you were in Texas.
there it is. Well, so we're gonna have Austin student. How do we say his last name? Austin G. We're gonna say
Gagne? Is it
Gagne is what we're
Gagne?
gonna say. He's Canadian, so we're gonna say Gagne. And we've been poor Austin. We've been tormenting him for months because we haven't gotten our act together to do a podcast. But I'm gonna get at him right after this, after we post this one. And he's a student. What would you say that he's doing right now? That's I think really cool for I think he's a seventh grader.
Well, I'd say to check out, if you get a chance, check out the CS for Students hashtag. He's leading a chat teaching other kids how to code and how to make stuff using mostly Scratch. He's created a few of his own web apps. He's a with it kid, really cool kid to follow, and I'm excited to get to chat with him. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it is too, and it's about time. I'm sorry that we've tortured poor Austin. When you see him come on here, know that he's only been waiting for like 6 months to be on the show. But of course, when you don't do a show for 6 months, that's what happens. So, but anyway, we look forward to talking. So if you are in the know, we also have. I'll just say this real quick. If you type in Techlandia, easy for me to say, techlandiaradio.com, you go to that, you can get some of the podcast. I'm updating that one. You can go to my old site. It'll default back to iPadSammy.com, but I'll switch that because I'm trying to ditch that. But Jake, I will never be able to ditch that now. Everybody's like calling me iPad Sammy at Q, and I'm just like, it doesn't hurt my feelings, but then I'm like,
I'm
hmm,
more than just iPad, Sam.
I'm more than just iPads. I like more than just iPads. So anyway, well, that's good. Thanks for being on, Jake. And next show, let's do our next show. Let's go Austin, and then we'll decide from there. Maybe one of
Sounds
the
good to me.
maybe one
Thanks
of
for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, and we will catch you on the flip side.